I think it's time to throw Justin Fields into the fields and leave him there. It's episode 292 of Empty the Bench here on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network, presented by Playback. He's Zain, Bando. I'm Nick Morgasen. Follow us on social media for Empty the Bench at ETB Sports, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench Podcast Network at ETB Network, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Over 1,030 subscribers, so please help us out there as well. We also have a 4,000 hour watch goal for YouTube, so continue to watch the content on YouTube. That's going to help us grow a channel. That's going to help us do a lot of other big things that we have planned, so help there. If you can't watch on video, there's always audio. Listen to Empty the Bench and all ETB Network shows wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Spotify, iHeart, you know the deal. Acast, it's everywhere. Empty the Bench is presented by Playback, playback.tv/ETB Network. We did WNBA Finals. We've done MLB Playoffs, which we're in the mix of now. We're going to be doing the World Series, as many games as we possibly can. The NBA is coming back this week. So please join us for all these streams. You'll hear a message later on in the show. Okay. We got a lot to catch up on. This is going to be a very, would you say, football-heavy related episode between the NFL and college football, right?
Yeah, I'd say it's a football-heavy episode, but there's also some exciting previews and some other stuff to look forward to as well. And for the first time in quite a couple of weeks, we're going to be talking about a major fight near the end of the show. So it should be a really fun time.
Yeah, a lot of college football. We're going to get into the firings. Last week, you and I spoke about James Franklin losing his job from Penn State. We now have coaching firings galore going on in college football. Lots of buyouts. One of the stories I saw, I heard we're in like the $120 million buyout range with most of these firings. So we'll get into that. We'll also recap NFL Week 7. I thought this was one of the better weeks we had in the NFL this whole season.
I thought so too. And I thought personally, and I think you were similar, but not quite as strong as me. I thought my picks for the most part were pretty solid this week, which I was happy about.
I mean, there was quite a few where I was shocked a little bit on the pick side. We'll get into that, including a certain team in Florida, and not the college football one, the NFL one. Let's just say football in Florida is kind of swimming underwater.
Yeah, unless you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Correct. We'll get into Belichick again. Just continues to lose. That program continues to.
And this time, North Carolina lost in one of the funniest ways you could possibly lose too.
Yeah, and basically they jetsed themselves, and you'll understand that reference later on. We'll preview the World Series, even though by the time this episode comes out, Game 1 will have already played. So we'll give you a quick preview. We'll break down UFC 321, the main fight. We'll do some Thursday Night Football. We'll preview some NBA, even though that will have already started by the time we've done it. But I have some thoughts on stuff coming up in the new NBA season. And if we have some time, we'll get into some unfortunate news that kind of was broken for a certain athlete passing away. But let's see if we have time. But let's get into it. College football coaching firings all over. Billy Napier for Florida. Jay Norvell, Colorado State. We already talked about James Franklin. This is kind of a crazy time in college football when it comes to head coaching. A lot of conversation about buyouts, especially because of the way James Franklin had that work clause in his contract that said he had to go out and get another job and they would pay the difference. Essentially, insurance without paying for insurance in regard. So where do we want to start? Do we want to start with Napier because that news kind of took over the college football world?
We could start with Napier because he's a bigger name. I'll let you go first on what you think, and then I'll kind of give my 2 cents.
So it just seems like they were all out of sorts, Florida. And I read you the stat earlier before we started: 1-11 in the last 2 years in ACC play. Obviously,
No,
that.
no, you're getting the teams mixed up.
Oh, am I?
You're thinking of Florida State.
Oh, am I thinking Florida State? Okay.
Yeah.
But just in general, that situation didn't look good at all. And Napier had quite a bit of, I think, had quite a bit of money left on his buyout, but they just said, "All right, sayonara, we'll let you go." Um, but yeah, I was kind of confused by this one.
I wasn't because I knew it was coming. I mean, Florida has been inconsistent for a really long time. They're probably wishing that they still had Dan Mullen as their coach because Dan Mullen was actually somewhat decent, and they're probably wishing that they would have kept Urban Meyer a little bit longer than they did. But nonetheless, still, this team was just extremely inconsistent with a really good quarterback that was thrust under a lot of pressure and. Unfortunately, this is not all on DJ Lagway. This is all on terrible coaching. And this Florida team had a chance to be good this year. An 8-9 win Florida team. Some were even saying a college football playoff contender. And now they're just going to be sniffing to try to make a bowl game at this point. And it needs to make a major splash because if they don't get this next coach right, Gainesville is going to be a very unhappy place over the next few years because for a program like Florida, one of the SEC's, biggest names, just in terms of a brand, I think of Florida, is like a USC of the SEC. They just have an aura about them to where when you say Florida, you instantly think of the Gators. And in most years, Florida is the more prominent team than Florida State is. So this is one where they're taking this on the chin. They probably should have done this a while ago, but they're doing it now because they realize they're not going anywhere but down at this point. And this offseason is going to be critical because they're going to be losing a lot of pieces. And yeah, I mean, I think the biggest loser in this is Lagway because he probably thought, oh, I can come back to Florida thinking that, Napier was going to be there for the long haul. And now, unfortunately for him, he's probably regretting that decision. So
Well, I'm assuming now he's probably going to hit the transfer portal, right?
I think
Probably.
so. I think so. Yeah.
But just look at the slow start. They lost to South Florida. They lost to LSU. They lost to Miami. Like they lost to teams that were significantly below them, right? And
Yeah, the South Florida one being the most shocking, and now we know that South Florida is actually a good team, so maybe that wasn't the worst loss in the world, but at the time, that's what it was framed as.
I mean, I don't know. Like I thought LSU was a top ranked team, but they call it a slow start. But um, it's also
LSU is they took one on the chin this past week against a very good Vanderbilt team, a team that they hadn't lost to since the '90s. So pretty much, in saying that the SEC has just been a mess this entire year.
and then it also I'm reading here for the fifth time since Urban Meyer retired in December of 2010, Florida is seeking a new head coach. Fifth time. Fifth time.
That's correct.
So what does that tell you about the I don't know, the representation, I guess, of Florida and the Gators, like that they just can't get it right since Urban retired?
I think, well, a few reasons. Number one, they haven't really made too many NIL splashes in terms of like getting someone for a hefty price to go there. That's number one. Number two, when you're being out recruited by the likes of LSU, Alabama, and Georgia, and kids want to go to bigger and better programs, that doesn't help. And then number three, when you oversell yourself, which is what they like to do, they've always oversold themselves ever since Meyer left. That's also a major issue too. And it also doesn't help when, guys just aren't loyal to programs anymore because of the whole NIL thing. So you're going to get one class that's going to come in for a year. And then if that class doesn't go well, like you're going to see most of those guys, if not the whole class that just came in, transfer now because of this move. Like, people are just in it for the most part. There are very few that are loyal anymore. But it seems like a lot of these programs, they're just in it for the 1 year wonder type thing. And what I think they're gonna do, unfortunately, is they're gonna make another mistake. They're gonna try to make another splash hire, see if it works. They're probably gonna try to go get, an offensive coordinator, a young hotshot offensive coordinator, or they might go bold and they might say, okay, let's see if we can bring in one of these big names like a James Franklin. If you will, with James Franklin in Florida, he just doesn't fit. Where I think James Franklin fits is somewhere where he's familiar. And I don't mean to go off on James Franklin for a second, but the whole Vanderbilt connection just made me think about it. But I think overall, though, Florida is trying to save face. They're not doing a very good job of it. And this entire season is now lost because, again, as I alluded to a week ago, Napier is no longer the coach. You lose one of the faces of your program. It's not a good look, and it's not like he was the greatest face, but at the very least, there are some weeks where he'd show he was a competent coach, and then there were other weeks where he turns back into Billy Napier again, and they were probably just sick of the inconsistency.
I mean,
So,
can we talk about the AD though? Because I saw Scott Strickland put the tweet out. Basically, you know how when someone resigns or they put out the big notes post, like from their phone, the extended notes post,
yeah.
and it basically was saying like he was a fit, then it wasn't a fit anymore, and they needed to go a different direction. I find it interesting that the school gave him a contract extension in the summer.
Yeah,
And
I find it interesting also.
because if the AD is getting extended and then the coach is getting fired, what doesn't that fall on the AD?
Yes.
So he got extended, the coach didn't got canned. And now what is this? 2 straight years they've missed the CFP?
No, you're thinking of Florida's. Again, Florida hasn't. I don't think Florida's even made the CFP.
No, I'm saying the last years they just haven't been competitive. I'm saying.
Correct.
So that's a problem in Gator World. I'll tell you that right now because they're not being competitive. Fans want to see competition.
Yeah, Florida. Yeah, Florida's never made the CFP, and then Florida State has only made it. A few times.
So a lot of problems going on in Florida. I don't know how they fix this. I mean, I'll throw a name at you because I thought this was interesting. And I happen to like this guy, even though he gets a lot of shit from the media. What do you think about Lane Kiffin?
It's interesting, but I don't understand why you would leave Ole Miss when you're having success there.
No, I agree 1,000%. He's finally found his niche where he fits. Because if I remember correctly, he's jumped around a million schools and the NFL and back and forth.
Yeah.
And Ole Miss, by the way, I was laughing at some of the pictures that he was posting over the last week or so. I'm sure you saw them, right?
Oh, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
what was it? His daughter or whatever was dating the someone on the opposing team,
He was dating a linebacker on LSU.
and they were playing each other, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Can't make that one up. But I've heard Lane's name been thrown around a lot for this job. I agree with you. He should stay in Old Miss. He fits there. Why would you leave somewhere where it's working? If it's not broke, don't fix it. I mean, but that's the only name. Like when I look at some of this list, the one that made me laugh, and the name I heard was Marcus Freeman.
He would be an idiot to leave Notre Dame.
That's why I said when I heard that name, I said, why would Freeman leave Notre Dame? I think he's having success.
You just
right?
took them to the national championship.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like he's had success. I mean, I think they might win one in the next couple of years.
I think so too.
So I think that's ridiculous. And then I don't recognize some of these other names.
What are some of the other names?
Rhett Lashley from SMU.
Yeah, he's a decent coach. I mean, it would be huge for his career because it would be an upgrade in terms of notoriety. Because no one, this is no disrespect to him, but no one watches SMU. So,
I wouldn't even know. Like all the other schools you've mentioned so far, I know of at least. Like SMU, I haven't heard a damn thing about, to be quite honest. Um, and then they have Washington coach Jed Fish. Is another one. I've never heard of him.
well, you never heard of him. He's a pretty good coach.
Is
He's
he?
not. He was the coach at Arizona a couple of years ago, meeting the Arizona Wildcats, and then he got hired at Washington because the old Washington coach, if you remember this, was Kalen DeBoer. Then Kalen DeBoer went to Alabama.
Well, that one I knew. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
Um, but I think there's going to be a massive shit show with recruitment and trying to keep players in
I think
because
so too.
well, and the rules for recruitment are much tougher now because they turned it down from 30 to 15 days, didn't they?
Yeah, and I have no sources on this whatsoever, but there's always the rumor that goes around every year that Illinois' offensive coordinator Barry Lenny could go back to the SEC. So well, I think he's a potential outlier to maybe leave Champaign to go take the Florida job. I don't know that for sure, but if it does end up happening where Brett needs a new offensive coordinator, I wouldn't be surprised.
Is
So
he? Would you? Do you think he'd be a good head coach or no?
he would be a phenomenal head coach. Oh yeah,
Okay, so you're
absolutely.
saying that there is ability there.
Oh
Okay,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. If
and
they hired him, it would be the most underrated hire of the offseason, in my opinion.
okay, now I want to ask you about this next one because I don't know anything about Colorado. So tell me about Jay Norville and fill me in on that.
So this Jay Norvell experiment was a disaster from the start. They should have never hired this guy. This guy has no front face whatsoever. You know when college football coaches have personality, you just know that they have personality, and you just know that they have a fit. If
Yeah.
you look up Jay Norvell's resume, tell me one thing as you do a quick bit of research. Tell me one thing that makes you believe that he was the right fit at Colorado State, because I can't find a single thing that had made sense about this hire to even remotely begin with. It was a
Well,
terrible hire.
so all I'm seeing mostly from now, but so the Rams fell to 2-5 following a Saturday loss to Hawaii.
Hmm.
Um,
Which losing to Hawaii is just a
brutal,
joke. Yeah,
and
it's an absolute joke.
and he's got an overall record of 18-26, which obviously is not good
No,
either. Um, are they joining the Pac-12 conference next year?
yeah, that's the plan.
You mean they're reinvigorating the Pac-12?
Yeah, and it looks strange. I didn't get into it because it makes me sick because it doesn't make any sense.
I heard there's like a Texas team that's involved in the Pac-12 also,
Texas State, I think, yeah, or something.
which is not even remotely close to the Pacific Northwest. I mean,
No,
like Calvin
no,
and I were talking about it on press row, and he's like, that he's from that area in San Diego, and he said to me, he's like, I don't get this. Like, what the hell did they do to the Pac-12? And so him and I were chatting about that. Okay, so he came to Colorado from Nevada, where he went
mhm,
33-26 and
yeah,
guided the team to 4 consecutive bowl appearances. Okay, so he had a pretty successful career before he came here,
yeah,
basically. So this was just, you said, like a terrible experiment gone wrong,
hmm,
essentially.
yeah, absolutely.
It says he became the first black head coach in CSU history when he signed a 5-year deal in 2021.
So
Um,
he was given time. I mean, not to transition this back to Illinois, but the 2021 season was Brett Bielema's first year, so it's clear that Jay Norvell had an ample amount of time to try to figure it out. It's not like he only had a couple years. You know what I mean?
and there's not a lot of money left. According to the report, he's only owed $1.5 million buyout.
Yeah,
So
that's not a lot of money for them.
So that probably was a no-brainer. They probably just said, "Let's get rid of him now. We'll pay the 1.5 million." And I mean, is he not going to get a job again? You think, or no?
I think he'll get a job as a coordinator, but probably not as a coach.
It's so much harder in college football than it is for the NFL. Like when you see coaches in the carousel, like moving around in college football, you need a plan. You need a recruitment plan. You have a brand plan. Like it's not as easy as stepping in. That's why you don't see permanent changes until the off season, right? Mostly in college football.
Mostly, yeah. This is an unusual year for midseason firings. I'll say that.
Like, if you had to put an average on it, like, so how many firings has there been? Like 5 or 6 already,
Yeah, I think there's 5 or 6 openings.
and
Mhm.
that included UCLA, right? I think that was
Correct.
so
which
that was
which
one.
which that whole thing is uh is still weird because they don't know if it's going to be Tim Skipper. They don't know if it's going to be New Hazel or whatever his name is, or if they're going to go
Or
in a
New
different
Heisel. Yeah.
New Hazel, or if they're going to go in a totally different direction. I have no idea. All I know, even though it's not on the banner, UCLA, if it can somehow win this weekend in an upset against number 2 Indiana, which we'll get to in just a second,
Yeah.
the craziest story in college football would continue. So that's one that I'm surprised even worked after they fired Deshaun Foster. Because if you think about it, all of these other firings that we've just talked about, every single one is the same common denominator, and that's the team has gotten worse.
Performance.
Yeah,
I
team's
mean,
gotten worse.
what's a normal? I this is more probably opinion or analysis based than an actual factual answer. But what is considered like a lot of firings, or not a lot of firings, like the average amount of firings in college football every year?
Like three major firings usually.
Oh wow! So we're doubling that number
Oh
almost
yeah,
already.
this is a weird year, as I alluded to.
I mean, does this amount of firings kind of the pressure of the NIL system and the amount of money that has to be made because of the money being spent, or is it something else?
It could be that, but it could also be something else too. These programs want to win now. They're a lot of them are tired of being put down when they're down already. Hence why Penn State made the decision it did, which sure enough, as I called last week, it wasn't going to go well, and they lost their first game without you know who. And not only did they lose last week, they lost in heartbreaking fashion. So that's now 4 losses in a row in state college. They're going nowhere fast, but I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But I think one of them is to try to save face, and a lot of these programs don't know how to do that. So
I wanted to ask one more thing because it just popped in my head for Penn State. Also, did you see the if shirts that were going around?
mhm.
Also, and apparently it had something to do with what is it, Coach Terry who took over,
Yeah.
and apparently it's like his philosophy of football. But
Mhm.
the people were assuming like it was almost like a walkout standout for James Franklin. They were assuming,
That's what I initially thought it was, but apparently it was not.
but
Yeah.
I read apparently it was a philosophy that Terry has for coaching. But it was a little odd, right? Like seeing them
Mhm.
just walk out almost like in solidarity in the if shirts.
A little
But
bit.
I was I don't know, but it's a lot of coaching firings, and you can't really do anything until the year ends. You're not going to make all these significant changes until the season's over.
No, you can't. You're right.
So let's talk about that other thing you said also. So Indiana ranked number 2 for the first time in program history. This is significant, right?
I would say so, considering this program has been notoriously bad at football. They never won 10 games in a season ever until last season. And Kurt Signetti just got his huge extension. His team is rolling right now. Like Nick, if you look at the remaining schedule, there's not another game on there that they won't win. So they should roll into the CFP undefeated and into the Big Ten championship against Ohio State with potentially the number 1 overall seed in the playoff at stake. They're having a phenomenal year. They're having a great year.
I mean, Signetti is an incredible coach from everything that I see. He just got a new, pretty decent sized extension, right? Um,
Yeah, I mean it's 8 years for a grand total of $93 million or
so I think
something.
they said he's getting like close to 12 million a year, which is pretty good.
Yeah,
Like, there's a lot of rumors.
this is coming from a guy Nick who nobody'd ever heard of just 18 months ago. Nobody knew who that was.
And there was a lot of rumors that like Penn State was calling to
Yeah.
see if he could be the coach, or like he was going to be the next hot commodity in a sense,
Oh
right?
yeah. Oh yeah. But he was a big deal for a couple of days, and then he decided to stay put. So,
But again, it kind of reminds me a little bit of like Matt Rule in Nebraska, where
which, by the way, Matt Rule is sticking around. As far as I know, he's staying in Lincoln.
he, if I'm wrong, tell me, he was a Penn State grad or a Penn State guy, right?
Yeah, Penn State graduate. Yep.
So that I'm assuming that's why that rumor floated out there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But I think he's having too much fun in Nebraska, and he's finally getting the program the way he wants.
I think so too.
And
I'm just saying, don't be surprised if a coach that's been exonerated within the last week or so is one of the three potential finalists for
well,
that job.
okay, so
I'm
you're
just
talking about Pat Fitzgerald, right?
yeah. I'm
Which,
just
by the way,
saying.
can I ask you about something for a second about that? Because you had mentioned to me about doing that story on your show. That was a little awkward, like on the field before the game as he was walking on the field. And because number one, I'm surprised. And if I'm wrong, tell me. But I was surprised that like he was just like brought back in, like good old times. Like everyone was putting their arms around one another on the field. Something felt off a little. Like, am I wrong in that speculation or no?
You're not, and what's weirder is they barely showed him on TV. They showed him for maybe 15 seconds.
It was like right at the beginning when they did the circle or whatever with all
Yeah, so,
the.
so you know why he came back, right? Or
It
do
was the
you know?
alumni thing, right? That they
Well,
were doing.
it wasn't just that; it was the 30-year anniversary of the Rose Bowl team, which
Right.
which he was a part of.
So it was like all the legends from that team.
Yeah, yeah.
And I saw the video on Twitter, and I'm like, he's kind of walking in, like the smile is like almost too big, like he like he's trying to just like show off for the camera that he's trying to be like what's the
A
word,
smile,
content.
of, a smile of someone who, a smile of someone who won a lot of undisclosed money.
Oh god, I think he won tens of millions if I had to take a guess.
Yeah, which it'll never become public. But you're probably right.
I'm gonna say he won probably like 60-70 million dollars, probably at least. um But I just remember that being an awkward moment, just watching that video and saying to myself, he's probably just smiling and trying to just say, okay, I needed to show up so I don't lose whatever deal I made, like with the school or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
But I digress. But first of all, I think Pat Fitzgerald is a really good coach. I think he just got wrapped into a bad situation.
I think so too.
But
Because
back
let me
in,
tell let me tell you what I mean. You have to understand, like when he became the coach there almost 20 years ago. I mean, he took over a program that was fragmented and broken, and over the next decade plus, he took it from a program that was irrelevant to anywhere between 7 and 10 wins, like every 2 to 3 years. So it's not like he can't do the same thing at Penn State if he has all the right resources. So
do you think they would make that hire considering what happened between him and Northwestern or no?
I have no idea. That's the fascinating part about it.
Because to be honest, from what the
It
situation,
would be
but
in if I were to predict something, it would be his last coaching gig wherever he goes. Because given how old his kids are becoming, and given that his oldest, well, the other rumor is that he might replace Kirk Ferentz at Iowa because his oldest is a walk on there. So I don't know. So
that's interesting. You're hearing that a lot more lately with coaches. Also, like a lot of the coaches' kids like go to the schools where their
yeah,
father goes, which I find that a little awkward
yeah,
sometimes.
yeah.
But maybe they get a discount or whatever because their father goes there or works there. But I don't know. I Would it be fascinating to see Pat Fitzgerald in Penn State? Yeah. First of all the spotlights would be on Pat Fitzgerald in Penn State if that was the case.
Oh yeah. Ratings
Um,
ratings bonanza for sure. People would want to watch that
but
because they would more than likely, and you could even clip this if you want. think that if this does happen, that they might become one of the most hated teams in America. I'll tell you that.
So you think they're going to be the new villain if he
Oh,
shows up there?
oh yeah, because there's plenty of people that haven't soaked in that he was I guess wrongfully terminated. So
I mean, that
I
was the
think
technical
they're
term they used.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But let's finish up Indiana quick. So obviously ranked number 2. This is second ever win against an AP top 5 team in Oregon.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. The Hoosiers overcame human nature and a collection of outside distractions to surge past Michigan State 38-13 on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I watched part of this game. They look dominant.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought they looked really good too, and it just goes to show how bad Michigan State has been ever since Mark D'Antonio decided to step down. But definitely though, from an Indiana standpoint, big win. Obviously, what stinks is the remainder of their schedule isn't that good because they're not being really tested against anyone. So the next 5-6 games are going to be target practice to me leading up to the Big Ten championship, but. I guess I can say this now because I was Mr. Hater a year ago. I can finally understand why Kurt Cignetti's a good coach. I didn't believe the hype until my alma mater was pounded by 50 plus. And once they did that, I'm like, okay, Indiana might be really good at football. Because I was one of those people that thought, oh, this is just a saga. It's gonna die out middle of next year. It's all going to come crashing down, and sure enough, I was wrong about that. So
I want to ask you one thing.
I gotta give it to number 2 in the country, only behind the defending national champions. To me, that's pretty darn impressive.
So I want to ask you one thing. So I heard you and Will and Nick D on FP5 talk, or Forever Power 5, in case people are hearing this for the first time. I heard you guys like actually being complimentary of Fernando Mendoza a lot.
Yeah, I like him. He's a good quarterback.
So what's his A game? Like what makes him so good?
I think it's because he knows how to throw the deep ball well, and he just makes really smart decisions, especially on the run.
And is he good at?
He's just one of those quarterbacks where when he has the ball, you just know something special is going to happen almost every single time. And then his star receiver, Elijah Surratt, has become one of the most underrated number 1 targets in the country. No one knew who he was just a couple of years ago. This guy has become a beast almost on a weekly basis. He's going to be on some NFL draft boards next year for sure because he's a one-man wrecking crew to where Mendoza to Surratt has just become like a commonplace combo almost every single week. They're a really good duo together, I think.
Okay, and last question before we move on from college football. Is there any more possible firings we are going to see before the season's over?
It's a good question. Even though a statement was put out in the last several hours at the time that we're recording this, do not be surprised if more Wisconsin alumni fire back at the AD and try to get Fickle out of there because their explanation for why Fickle should stay, I think, is atrocious. So,
okay, we'll keep
as someone who believes that Fickle should be fired. And as someone who's an outsider to the situation, I have no ties to Wisconsin whatsoever. I think they're making the wrong decision. So,
all right, so we'll keep a note on that. Very busy college football firing season.
No kidding. It took over half our episode to get through all that. So we gotta keep going.
Hey, just for record's sake and note out there, Zain knows this, but getting me to talk college football for almost 35 minutes and actually be into it too and know what is going on, I think I've gotten way better in the regard of the college football world.
I think you have. I think you have. That's for sure.
I think I know way more about the James Franklin situation than I've ever known about any other college football coach.
That's probably right.
You're
probably right. And that's good.
Yeah,
that's
no,
good.
it's good. I like it. All right, let's move on. Now let's get to the pros. This was a fascinating week to say the least.
Yeah, it was a good week. A lot of parody, some interesting final scores, some crazy endings. Um, and I just want to start and say congratulations to you, Nick. First off, because finally it took you almost 2 months, but you finally did it. You finally won a lock of the week.
Well,
Congratulations.
thank you, but I want to save that game for a little bit later because I have a rant of the ages for that one. But
Okay.
let's start.
By the By
Okay,
the way, hey, though, I just want to say, if you would have told me a month ago that the Bears would be sitting at 4-2 going into the game against the Ravens, I don't know if I would have believed it. So,
and believe it or not, I actually think that game's a little bit winnable, to be quite honest, because of their horrible defense.
I think so too.
But Lamar and Roquan Smith are supposed to be returning because this was their bye week. They just came off of. So I think they're going to be fully healthy. So that's going to be a much tougher game now. But their defense is so bad. Like, they might almost keep the Bears in that game the way it's going.
100%.
But let's start all the way back to Thursday Night Football this past week.
Which we got cooked on badly.
Well, first of all, no one expected a 33-31 battle of the AARP quarterbacks between Flacco and Aaron Rodgers. I mean, 33-31, 64 points. Like, I was stunned. Big time.
I was stunned myself.
Because Pittsburgh's playing really good football with Aaron Rodgers, of all people. And Joe Flacco, hit the reset button after being traded from Cleveland to Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm.
And it probably also helps that he has two of the best receivers in the game to throw the football to. That probably helps. But
yeah.
But look at these games. Joe Flacco went 31 for 47, 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. That was like Baltimore Flacco we saw out there.
Baltimore old school Flacco. We're talking Nick, I don't know what, between the years of 08 and 2011 when he was just cooking everybody, that was a vintage Joe Flacco game, and I'm sure you attest to that.
Oh, yeah. And by the way, this was vintage Jamar Chase. 16 receptions, 161 yards, a touchdown. When I feel like with Browning was a disaster. And first of all, I don't think you're going to see Browning the rest of this year, to be quite honest, with Flacco being in. As long as Flacco doesn't get hurt, I think Flacco is going to be the starter the rest of the way, because I don't know if Burrow is going to come back healthy for the rest of this season.
I think you're right. Yeah, that's probably true.
So what I do think, though, with Flacco is I think it kind of rejuvenated the Bengals a little bit. And maybe they might have a chance after being down in the dumps after starting Browning. But we'll see what happens there. Then for the 4th week in a row, we had a London game.
Yeah.
By the way, are you getting tired of London? Because I'm a little tired of London too.
Well, it's almost over, right? Or is it over?
Completely? London's over. But It's just...
Well, am I getting tired of it? Yes. But the part where I'm not tired about is I was the one who took the risk and decided to lock the Rams, and it paid off. So I was super happy about that.
Would you admit, though, it's tough to lock a London game, though, because you have no idea what to expect?
Yeah, you probably won't. You probably won't see me do that in 2026. We'll tell you. I'll tell you that.
Well, because there's going to be a lot more international games next year, from what we're hearing already. But Matthew Stafford looked like vintage Matthew Stafford. 5 touchdowns, totally on the ball. Trevor Lawrence looked a little lost in this game.
Yeah.
But I think you just chalk this up to the Rams and their defense just totally destroying the Jaguars. If it wasn't for a garbage time touchdown by Travis Hunter, who finally had his first touchdown on the board, they would have been shut out. So
yeah, shout out to Travis Hunter for finally scoring a touchdown. That was cool to see. It's clear though that the Rams were the better team. It wasn't close.
Not close. All right, let's go to Chicago country here a little bit. So this game was very back and forth until like the very end.
Yeah, it
And
was. It was an interesting game. It was an interesting game. One note I do want to mention though, it's the Bears' first four-game winning streak since 2018. You have to remember that year in 2018 was the last time the Bears won a division title. So who knows what could be happening there? And I just want to say the culture shift from Matt Eberflus to Ben Johnson is night and day. It's clear that he has his players' attention. He admitted it in the video that the Bears posted of them in the locker room that they didn't handle the short week well the first time and they did really well this time around. And he was just really proud of the way that they stepped up and to do it for Dennis Allen to do it in that fashion, for the defense to just go crazy, and for Caleb Williams to look as efficient as he did for the most part of that entire game Sunday was unbelievable. You went into something else. You went into the last time the Bears beat the Saints. You have to go all the way back to 2008 was the last time the Bears won a head-to-head game against the Saints.
it's been that long.
Yeah.
I mean, the Saints had the Drew Brees era. That kind of makes sense. Probably why they didn't win a game since that long ago. But
Yeah. But
um,
4-2 for the Bears. It's clear that something is clicking. It's clear that the Ben Johnson effect is there, and it's clear too that the defense is just getting a lot better. I just feel like the defense knows what it's supposed to do, and the stars are showing up. And it's also clear too that the Bears have gotten back to a smash mouth football kind of game where you just know that they're gonna run the ball and they're gonna do so efficiently to set up Caleb Williams and I'd say the Bears overall, talent wise, when they're healthy, they're pretty good, and that was no more evident than in Sunday's win. I think.
so 3 factors I want to point out in this game. Rattler looked lost pretty badly in this game at one point.
Well, for the first time in weeks, I would say, right? Because the last couple going into this, he was relatively efficient.
I mean, he threw 2 picks, and then I think at one point he took like 3 straight sacks
Yeah,
at one point, which I'm like, dude, throw the ball away. Seriously. By the way, this is what I beg of Caleb Williams, by the way, that he would be so much better off if he would throw the ball away or run out of the pocket and not throw a worthless interception or take a sack. Like, I beg that of Caleb Williams. And sometimes, like, he makes stats and games look a lot closer than they actually are.
yeah,
But in this game, I thought he actually fairly played a really decent game here. DeAndre Swift, by the way, this guy looks like a stud for the Bears. Like, he's finally coming to fruition and really playing good ball. And then on the Saints side, also, the Saints got to trade Olave and get something back before the deadline for
yeah.
him.
They do in a massive way because even if they do that, which you're 100% right about, they're not really going anywhere. So right now, they're just trying to scale back to see who they can get, and then eventually, I think they're going to turn some of those pieces into draft picks. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, right now they're battling the Jets for the worst record and the Titans for the worst record in the NFL right now. So those 3 teams are gonna be in the top 5 regardless when it comes to overall picks in the first round. I heard that the quarterback class is not going to be great coming out
No,
this
it's
time
not,
around.
especially with Drew Aller having his season derailed. I mean, he was supposed to be a potential number one overall pick, and now there's no way that that's happening. So,
Well, they said Mendoza was considered a high class quarterback, though, right?
which would be shocking given the school he plays for. I mean, Indiana never has players ever go that high. It would be a huge deal.
So I guess we'll see what happens with the Saints. The game that shocked me a lot this week, Browns Dolphins, and there's a lot to talk about in this game. The Dolphins are an embarrassment. Can we just admit that now? Like, Mike McGenius, or it should be called Mike McDumbass. Like, this guy has totally been lost. Like, I don't see the genius in this guy. Like, something is obviously not working, and obviously because from the Ian Rappaport Perky and Rappaport on the Miami Dolphins. No changes are expected at this time, which, by the way, that's got to be a little shocking, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you see the way this offense has performed over the last several weeks, and you just go, "What in the world are they thinking?" Like, it's so bad to the point where they're just unwatchable. If I'm being completely transparent, I barely watched any of that. So I'm almost glad I didn't really see it. I was pissed we didn't win the play this week, for at least my play. Rather, I had the under. I think you had the
So
under
did I.
too. Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was pissed about that, but they're a joke. And
Yeah.
I was a goof because I took Miami in my regular pick'em, thinking that they would finally show up and win a game, and they didn't. So I learned
Right.
my lesson the hard way. So
Yeah. I mean, the weather wasn't as bad as they made it sound like it was going to be. Like they kept saying this was going to be a monsoon and a slip and slide type of game, and it was not. The weather was rainy, but it wasn't bad. And first of all, I think this was the first time in quite a long time that the Browns were actually a favorite on the betting line for the first time in God knows how long, right?
yeah, from what I understood, yes. Hmm.
I think when we did the pick, they were like a 2.5 point favorite from what I remember. But the when the Browns are putting up 31 points against you, that's not a good thing. I'm just going to say that now. Like the Dolphins are cooked, and obviously Tyreek Hill had the season-ending injury. Um, they should try and trade Waddle if they can. Um, I don't know. What is there any saving grace to this team whatsoever?
No, probably not. I mean, they should just tank for a top five pick and see what happens. That's what I think.
Now, what about the reports of Tua? Because Tua got benched for Ewers, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, is that as low as it gets?
I think so, especially given that Quinn Ewers, in my opinion, was overhyped coming out of Texas. So
And by the way, Judkins, the which they were using in the Wildcat formation, quarterback wise,
he had
three
a he had a
touchdowns.
he had a game yesterday under 100 yards, and he still scored it 3 times.
I mean, he made them look like a minor league team for crying out loud out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
So the Dolphins are in trouble. I listened to the press conference yesterday. Mike McDaniels couldn't get out like 3 words in a sentence, which was concerning, but I don't know. The Dolphins are in trouble. And like the Jets are 0-7, and the Dolphins have a win. And I think the Dolphins are a more embarrassment right now than the Jets are when it comes to the organization.
You
So
could you could say that given that Aaron Glenn is in his first year. So I don't know.
that's true. Um, let's go. Let's finish the rest of these games. Patriots dominated again. I think Drake May looks unbelievable right now.
Yeah, they
Um,
look like they're the best team in the AFC East, at least so
I,
far.
I think Vrabel is an incredible coach. I think that was one of the best hires of the entire offseason.
Oh yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and by the way, he made his former team look silly. Um, Cam Ward, I kind of feel bad for a little bit in this situation because he's just in a terrible scenario. Obviously, Callahan was fired the week before. Who is it? McCoy, I think, is the interim head coach there now.
Yeah.
And they said like he was making like very questionable decisions as the head coach. Um, yeah, the Patriots. This was like the most obvious. This like if you were going to do a lock of the week like Ben did, like this was a lock of the week in such an obvious way. Um,
Yeah, if I didn't walk the Rams, that's probably what I would have done.
obviously, and then you had a division game, which it felt like the Raiders didn't show up for whatsoever. 31-0 Chiefs over the Raiders. Of course, I had the over thinking that there was going to be some more points scored in this game, but the Raiders just decided, you know what? We're not going to show up offensively today whatsoever. And Geno Smith, the Raiders might get to a point where they might have to cut him and move on.
I know. I know.
Like, it didn't help, by the way, that Jacoby Myers and Brock Bowers were both injured, so two-fourths of their offense was completely invisible, not there.
They also just have a brutal schedule, so that doesn't help either.
Yeah, so that there's really not much you could say about that game. They just looked bad. Um, Eagles Vikings. I think this game was really, really good. This is the game we all struggled partially with picking, but
Luckily, I won, which I was happy about.
yeah, I took the Eagles too. Um, Jalen Hurts looked really good. Finally, throwing 3 touchdowns, 19 to 23, 326 yards. Um, Saquon didn't really show up in this game though.
No,
It
he
seemed
didn't.
like. So, what do you make of this game? Because it was a really good game through and through.
What do I make of it? I make of it that the Eagles' offense is finally back again, which is good because they need to be back in order to have a chance to compete in the NFC as well as compete for a division title. And I understand it wasn't a division game, but given what happened in the NFC East yesterday or Sunday with Dallas defeating the Commanders, the Eagles needed that win, so it was a big win.
Yeah, because if the Eagles had lost that game, that Commanders Cowboys game was significant following it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
All right, now let's get into New York football because this was an absolute shit show and a half. Um, I said it during football forecast. You heard me hit my lock button 4,000 times on the Panthers because I had no faith in the Jets whatsoever. Um, this was such a bad game. Bryce Young got hurt in this game. Also, I think it's a high ankle sprain. He's going to miss next week's game anyway. Um, Xavier Legette had an incredible game as well. Do you know the story that happened with him or no?
No, not really.
With him and the reporter?
Uh, um, no. The only reporter story I know about is the Mike Rabel jester, which was pretty cool. But I don't know
So,
about the Leggett one.
so Legette, when they were playing the Cowboys, the ESPN Panthers reporter came up to him and said, "Oh, your parents are not going to be Cowboys fans this week when they're watching the game." Well, there was a small problem with that statement that his parents are not alive anymore.
Oh, oh, that's not good.
So,
Okay,
and it was a very awkward, tensioned moment when it happened.
okay.
And so it was a very odd moment, but I think he ended up having a good game and he had a good game this week. Um, I think it's time to throw Justin Fields into the fields and leave him there.
Yeah, you said that last week, and you're probably right. Unfortunately, I think he's a good person. He's just been in bad situations, and I don't know, man. Being a quarterback's hard, and it didn't help when at Ohio State he was a run first quarterback too. So it's just been an overall disaster, both in Chicago, Pittsburgh, and of course the Jets now. So not a good situation, and I'm sure the Jets are regretting their decision to dump Rodgers for a guy who hasn't been the same quarterback in a couple years.
And,
So
and by the way, Rodgers is actually performing in Pittsburgh, which is probably making the Jets even more pissed right now. 0-7, worst record in the NFL. The way this is heading, I, I don't see many wins on this schedule for the Jets at all. Like they might go like 2-15. The way this is heading.
it's very much looking like that. Speaking
Uh,
of the Jets, should we move on to Belichick now?
well, let's finish. We have one more or a few games here. Uh, did you see the huge comeback from the Broncos?
Yeah, it was a crazy ending.
We were watching that game on Red Zone on playback the other day, and 33 points in the fourth quarter alone. Have you ever seen such a thing?
No, and a 19 nothing deficit overcome by Denver.
I mean, also the Giants' kicking woes kicked them in the rear
I know.
again, which people would say, why didn't they go for two and put the game away? It's not that simple, to be quite honest. Um, quickly, Colts Chargers. This was a really good game. This was the game of the week.
Yeah, this
I
was a
feel like,
great game, and I figured the Colts would win, and they did. That
yeah.
offense is looking really good right now. And I got to admit, Tyler Warren, rookie of the year, it could happen.
By the way,
He is a beast.
Colts 6-1 now on the season with Daniel Jones, of all people. I don't think anyone expected Daniel Jones to come out and have this insane of a season so
The best
far.
record since 2009.
And by the way, Justin Herbert, again, another huge game, 420 yards, 3 touchdowns, and the defense is just not backing him up whatsoever.
No, they're not. They're not. But it is what it is, though, and it's still a long season, so there's still time.
Right. This game I'm going to gloss right over. 66 total points scored in Cowboys Commanders. Um, any thoughts on this game? I think the Cowboys offense just exposed the Commanders
Yeah,
pretty much.
I think so too. And not to change sports, but I think Dallas sports teams, Nick, have a new good luck charm because Paige Beckers was in attendance and the Cowboys won.
Yeah, you're
And
right.
she also had a jersey swap with Jane Daniels, which I thought was interesting, and people were making fun of them because they think that they're both going to be injured at some point next year, which is just so disrespectful.
Wow. I didn't never thought I'd hear those words.
Yeah. So, but the Cowboys did look good. Their offense is awesome, and the Commanders have a lot of figuring out to do because if Jaden Daniels isn't 100%, as you know, they're a totally different team. So,
Yeah. Also, CeeDee Lamb made his return, 5 catches, 110 yards, 1 touchdown. Can you imagine if they somehow were able to sign George Pickens, having CeeDee Lamb on one side, George Pickens on the other? Like,
I know.
that's like unbeatable in a way to have those two type of threats. But that was a blowout. Packers Cardinals. Packers come back and win with 14 points in the fourth quarter, 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter. Brissett actually looked good, stepping in for Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray's an overrated quarterback in my book. Um, I think eventually he's going to lose the starting job at some point, even though they paid him a lot of money. I don't think Brissett is the answer. Let me be very clear about that. He's more of a journeyman backup wherever he goes. But I'm shocked at how close this game was and that they were trailing most of it.
Yeah, but that's what the Packers have done now for the last several weeks is they keep these games close and they keep you guessing and they win. And I thought they played well in the fourth quarter and it was a big road win. They needed it.
And then obviously the second game on the double dip, or actually just or I shouldn't say double dip, Sunday night. Falcons 49ers. I really thought the Falcons were going to play much better than this. Like, what did you make of this game?
I didn't watch it, but what I can tell you is if the Falcons keep John Robinson healthy, they'll have a chance to maybe be a wild card team. If he somehow gets hurt, I think the season's over. So
Oh, I
I
said
mean, I
that
mean,
to
I mean, I mean, when you, I mean, when that's really your only offensive weapon that you have to carry you, that's a big problem. And it's a big win for the 49ers who, are starting to build momentum, even though they still have some injury woes. So it was a game that the 49ers needed. So
yeah. So that kind of caps week 7. It was a good week. It's going to be tough to beat this week, but we'll see what happens. All right, let's move on to what you started to mention here. Bill Belichick loses again, loses to Cal. This guy just continues to lose, doesn't he?
yeah, and it's getting funnier and funnier by the week. The only thing I wanted to comment on this game is just the way they lost was hilarious. I mean, you're literally going in for the game-winning score and you lose because the receiver's awareness was just dumb, and they fumbled the ball out of the back of the end zone for a touchback that essentially won Cal the game with a couple minutes to go. Like in the ways in which Belichick's college football experiment could go wrong, continues to go wrong, and it's becoming a comedic skit on a weekly
A
basis. I
laughing
mean, this
stock.
guy, I mean, this guy continues to just shoot himself in the foot. This is just an abomination. I mean, I can totally understand why the UNC, not just student body, but fan base is just fed up because it's been a complete clown show. Very quickly, your thoughts, and then we can move on to some baseball and a few
Yeah.
other things as we wrap up.
So I do want to get your thoughts on one thing. Calvin and I talked about this on Press Row with UNC, and I'm curious what you think of it. Did you read the reports that Michael Lombardi traveled to Saudi Arabia for to look for funding?
Yeah, I think it's very sketchy, in my opinion.
I didn't understand it. Like, I don't know if this is like the Bill Belichick way where they just do everything sketchy, whether it's with the Patriots or it's with UNC or whatever. But I did like you have
I don't
NIL
know.
money and you have budget money. Why are you going to Saudi Arabia for funding?
I don't know.
So I think that's like the exclamation point on how bad this has been going. And now you're reaching for dirty money in Saudi Arabia. I mean, I don't know. Just a very odd scenario. I think he is going to get fired at the end of the season. I think because they didn't do it in the off week, now they got to wait till the end of the year. I think.
I think so too.
So that's pretty much it on that point. All right, let's we haven't had a chance to really talk some baseball. Now, we don't have as of this recording, we don't have the full World Series yet. We know the Dodgers are in. Game 7 is basically going to be playing or actually it'll be over by the time this airs. So, we know the Dodgers are in it. And then it's either going to be Toronto or Seattle on the American League side.
I think regardless of who wins, I think the Dodgers win the World Series. I just think they have too much talent. I think David Roberts is the best manager in baseball. What I really like about this Dodgers team is they're just keeping their heads down and they're working. You don't see them being prima donnas. You don't see any leaked videos of anything suspicious. You just hear Roberts in every interview that I've seen this postseason. He's like, we're gonna celebrate. We're going to enjoy the moment, but in 24 hours, he's back to business, and there's no sugarcoating it, and there's no fluff. And I'm not an LA Dodgers fan at all, and a manager literally says, "Yeah, I'm focused on my team and I'm focused on my players." How can you not back them to at least, even if they don't win the World Series, at the very least, give whoever comes out of the AL the best series possible? I think that's what the Dodgers are going to do. And by the way, if the Mariners do win Game 7, my initial prediction, as I told you weeks ago, of Dodgers Mariners being my World Series would come true. So I would be pretty proud of myself for that if it were to come to fruition.
I kind of hope Seattle makes it. Well, there's a selfish reason why I don't want Toronto
No, I
in
know.
the World Series being a
I'm
Yankee
aware.
fan.
You don't have to explain that. I'm aware.
But I mean, that's like you with Milwaukee, like being a Chicago Cubs fan. Like you were probably happy when Milwaukee got eliminated.
I was
Um,
happy, but as you know, I'm more of a casual baseball fan, so it's like I don't get riled. I don't get as riled up about it as other Cubs fans do. For example, I'm gonna be more uncomfortable, if you will. For example, if like the Packers go to the Super Bowl or something like that,
well,
than I would if the Brewers made it to the World
well,
Series.
you're a Bears fan through and through.
Yeah,
That's why that would bother you more than anything. But
yeah.
yeah, I'm besides selfish reasons that I want Seattle in. I just want to see Seattle play more. I want to see Cal Raleigh in the World Series. I think that's going to be an incredible situation, like for Dodger pitching to figure him out. I still think he's going to be the MVP. By the way, you want to talk about? I forgot the segment that you do on BB, like where you point out something that's insanely ridiculous
Oh, it's
every week.
called One Thing I Saw, which I already have my plan for that this week, but I'll let you continue.
So I'm going to give you a version on my own of one thing that I saw this week, which is on social media. Some people who think they know sports are a little naive when it comes to explanations of stuff. So I don't know if you saw that when Cal Raleigh hit the home run to give Seattle the lead, and then they eventually went on to take a 3-2 series lead in the ALCS. Someone quote tweets the video and says, "Oh, he locked up the MVP after hitting that home run." There's a slight problem with that scenario, which is the MVP is determined before the playoffs start.
Yeah, that's a rough one. I mean, if it was from a fan, you can't really blame them. But if it was from a media member, that's a bad look.
Well, it was a lot of people were saying it, like not just media people, like fans. If you're a fan of a team, you got to know, come on, like that the MVP is for the regular season, not the playoffs. Like,
Yeah,
and I think Cal Raleigh should be the MVP. Everyone's making stupid comments that Aaron Judge should be the MVP because he hit 60 or 70 points better than Cal Raleigh. Well, if you want to have a batting average discussion, then talk about the batting title. Aaron Judge won the batting title this year for hitting 330. The MVP is the most valuable player in sports or in baseball. And I think Cal Raleigh, between being the starting catcher, having to catch Seattle's rotation all year, hit 60 home runs as a switch hitting catcher, which is hard, he should be the MVP. And I don't think it should even be discussion whether it's Aaron Judge. And I'm a Yankee fan, for crying out loud. So no bias included here. But I hope Seattle, by the time this the series is determined, I hope Seattle's in the World Series. I think it will be a really good World Series if it gets to that point. I still think the Dodgers, unfortunately, are going to win it. But would you think of that as Dodger fatigue if they ended up winning for the second straight year in a row?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just showing that they're still the best team in the sport. I don't see an issue with it. It's like, it's overly annoying, right? Like the Chiefs, for example. Like I think I think it's two different spectrums. That's what I.
I think the problem is the Dodgers and the media are going to like oversell it because the Dodgers are in the World Series and it's Hollywood, it's big media. Like they're just going to oversell the heck out of it in that regard. But we'll see what happens.
Hey fans, Novig is here to change the way you play. Available in 35 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and New York, Novig is America's #1 sports prediction market, and it's 10 times more profitable than traditional sports books because there's no house edge. Instead, you're betting directly against other sports fans just like yourself. Novig is also the only free exchange, which means you keep every dollar you win. Whether you're putting plays down on the NFL, the NBA, the NHL, Major League Baseball, college sports, or even UFC and tennis, Novig gives you the power to pick the best odds, or better yet, set your own. Sign up today with the code ETB Network, and you'll get 1,000 Novig coins plus $5 in Novig cash, and special bonus offers like spending $5 and getting $50 back. Novig, where fans play smarter. You must be 21 years or older to play. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Empty the Bench is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And now back to the show. Let's discuss some odds. ETB Sports Odds presented by Novig. Use promo code ETB Network. Spend $5, get $50 in bonus plays. 2 plays for you this week. 1, your normal Thursday Night Football. But first, let's discuss UFC 321.
Yeah, so we have the heavyweight championship fight. Tom Aspinall, finally the current UFC heavyweight champion. It was promoted to undisputed after John Jones's 3-week retirement, and he draws 0-1. This is his third crack at a heavyweight title fight. After going 0-2 in his first 2 chances, one to Francis Ngannou and the other to John Jones. To me, this is one of those scenarios where I think all the pressure's on Aspinall to win, and it's as simple as that. Gane is a great fighter, but as I just alluded to, 2 chances, he's lost both of them. Aspinall is the class of the heavyweight division at the moment because we don't know where Jones is currently at. But I think the big key in this fight is if Aspinall doesn't overlook Gane, he should be able to win. Hence why he is a pretty heavy favorite. And Gane is going to have to probably catch him with something early and lucky in order to have any sort of a chance to win the heavyweight championship. Because if he wins it, it's going to be chaos at the top of the division because the UFC will more than likely have to book an immediate rematch. It could delay the possibility of the madness that is what would be at the top of a would-be White House card in June. There's, I think, a lot more. I guess it's not political in a sense, but there's a lot of moving variables to where the UFC is hoping for one scenario, and it may end up getting a totally different scenario if the upset actually does occur. So those are my thoughts on that. One more thing I will say before I let you go. I think Aspinall does win this fight in the first round by TKO, making it look easy and showcasing him as an undeniable potential part of next June's card because I think he has the star power, and I don't think he would have taken over a year and a half off to not go in and dominate. Well, I like Aspinall on Saturday afternoon. It's an afternoon start because the fight's in Abu Dhabi. So
Correct. So you kind of beat me slightly to the point I was going to ask you about, but if you had to take a percentage of UFC brass and say behind the scenes, not publicly, but behind the scenes, they're like, we really, 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 really need Tom Aspinall to win this fight. What percentage would you put on behind the scenes that they're like clenching their toes, crossing their fingers, crossing everything on their body that Tom Aspinall has to win this fight?
60-40, 70-30, somewhere in there.
Oh, so it's not as big a percentage as I thought. I thought you were going to say like they were.
No, because I've watched it enough to where they'll go with whatever it is. You don't see them come out and say that they were pissed because of an outcome or something
No.
like that.
That's not what I mean. I'm saying, like, say this is behind the scenes and nobody knows. Like, they're hoping for an outcome of certain sorts. Like, what percentage privately do you think that they're hoping that Aspinall wins this fight and that they don't have to scramble?
I would still say 60-40.
Wow.
I would.
I thought
because they'll figure it out. Because as I just alluded to a second ago, they'll book an immediate rematch.
But doesn't that, and I don't know if this is the wrong question, but wouldn't that kind of prove their bias partially if they went to immediately book a rematch or another fight?
No, because they've done it in other scenarios before.
But doesn't that also show that they're like really begging to get Aspinall on the card in the White House if he loses?
That could be one scenario, but I don't think we'll really know that until after the fight is over.
And
we're not going to know how they really feel until after it's over.
I'm assuming though, if you're saying, which is true, that Aspinall was the clear favorite to win this fight, and the Novig odds say it, that this would be his last fight until that point, right?
Probably, yeah. Because he even admitted he won't fight his teammate Anti Delia, who used to compete in the PFL, said publicly like a week ago that he won't fight Delia if Delia is the number one contender because they're training partners and it's a respect thing. So
That's got to be awkward slightly, right?
oh yeah,
Like,
100%.
has that happened before or no?
Oh yeah, this happens a lot.
And have most people not taken the fight, or do they take the
No,
fight?
most of the time they end up fighting each other.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably awkward after the result of the fight, right?
Exactly. Do you think
Um,
Aspinall wins on
yeah,
Saturday? Yeah,
I do.
you think so?
Yeah,
Okay.
I think he's a clear favorite. I think he's got extra motivation, if you know what I mean, also to make that White House card if he secures the victory. Also,
Yeah, yeah.
because I think there's a lot of money to be had, like making that card.
I think
Also,
so too.
like I'm not talking about hundreds of thousands. I'm talking about like millions could be up for grabs making that card, depending on where he's ranked in that card. I don't. Where would he be ranked on that card? Like, if from a speculatory sake, do you think?
Oh, you mean you mean? Let me help you rephrase. You mean in the order of the fights? Where
Yeah,
would he be placed on that?
yeah.
Well, it
Suppose
depends.
like if you had a speculative take.
Well, it depends on who he's fighting. If it's Jones, he's probably the main event. If it's Gon or somebody else, he's probably number 2 or number 3 because just having Aspinall to me doesn't sell. Like, if we're being honest, the only reason why people are going to watch this fight is because of Aspinall. Well, when no one's tuning in for Gon, and that's no disrespect, but Gon doesn't have personality. He's from France. Like, French MMA is big, but it's not big in terms of a casual UFC observer. More people know who Tom Aspinall is out of the UK than they do Gon out of France. So to answer your question in short, it all depends on who Aspinall fights on that card.
Okay, so let me throw it out a different way. Let's say, like Dana said, that Jones is completely in the doghouse and out of the equation at that point, and Aspinall needs a match because he's going to make the White House card. Where do you think that sits?
I would say probably third fight on the main card, so third from the top of the card. I would say.
Okay, so he still has a chance to make decent bank off that card and off that
Yeah, but
fight.
their dream scenario is that I don't know this for sure, but if I'm them, the dream scenario is that he headlines that card. That's just me though.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Quickly, Thursday night football, Vikings at Chargers. This is a confusing game in my book, my opinion.
I'm gonna keep this simple. I really like the over. I think I'm going back to the total well here, and I think a lot of points are scored in this game.
Yeah, the spread is confusing to me in this game. One, how are the Chargers a favorite the way they're playing right now? How is that possible? They're losing games that they shouldn't be losing, in my opinion. Even though the Colts are playing good football, they probably should have won that game. But the Colts just came out and annihilated them. So I'm going to stay away from the spread on this. I'm with you on this one. I think the over is the play here because the Vikings are going to score points. The Chargers are hopefully going to score points. And you should accidentally sneeze, and each side should hit 23 or 22
it's funny,
points.
most of the time you say that, it ends up happening.
Right. So I think the over is the obvious play here. All right. Quickly again, NBA predictions as the NBA season officially gets underway. Was there anything that you were interested in or wanted to know about to kind of start off the NBA season?
Well, I can say this: it's not a great time to be a Bulls fan. Let's just say that they're going to struggle and they'll do their wild card thing that they usually do, where they'll get hot in February when you least expect it, and they'll win some games they shouldn't, and more than likely they may have to be carried on by a fellow Illinois legend in Io DeSumo to have any sort of a chance to even do anything in the East this year. And I want to say this: I'm sure it's a difficult time to be a Knicks fan too, given that you guys had all those. Well, you're at fan, but I guess I can mention this. I'm sure it's a difficult time to be a Knicks fan, considering that they had all those expectations and they just totally imploded in the playoffs against Indiana. And I mean, I think it's just going to be. I think it's going to be a weird year. I really do. I don't see a repeat champion. I don't know who's going to win the finals, but what I can tell you is the parity is going to be off the wall. I think it's too early to really make any huge predictions, given that it's obviously the season will have started by the time this airs. But I think you won't really know the pulse of these teams until December or January.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at this, like you said, these games are already going to be passed by the time this airs. I think OKC wins on opening night against Kevin Durant and the Houston Rockets. They had a huge injury. Fred VanVleet is basically done for the year before the season even started. They signed a huge deal, and now he's out. Although they're a really young team, and Kevin Durant's not the best leader. Like, everyone thinks the Rockets are going to be this like incredible team that's going to go off and win a lot of games. Prove that to me. But like, I need to see that, not on paper. Show me that Kevin Durant can lead a team. He couldn't do it in OKC. He wasn't the leader in Golden State. Steph Curry was. That's why he won titles in Golden State. Couldn't do it in Brooklyn at all, and that was a problem. And so that's the way I kind of look at it in this scenario, that Kevin Durant is not going to be able to accomplish whatever he needs to accomplish. I'm trying to think what other headlines there really was. The Knicks probably have a much better chance to do things this year because the Celtics have the injury to Jason Tatum. The Pacers have their injuries with Tyrese Halliburton. So I think if the Knicks are going to make it a year, they need to do it this year. If they're going to.
Because more than likely, from what you're saying, and I agree, Indiana's probably out of the picture.
Yeah. I think Indiana,
at least for a good chunk of the season. So
yeah,
I think I don't mean to interrupt. I'll let you finish your say. I was just going to say something more general before we move on.
Yeah, I think that I don't know. The Pacers are going to be tough to watch. With no Halliburton. I mean, they did pick up Miles Turner. Or actually, they lost Miles Turner to Milwaukee also. That's another tough scenario that they're facing too. But I really don't know. The Knicks need to win this year. They need to make a run. They need to in my opinion, they could make a run to the NBA Finals if they're healthy. But I don't know if I believe that, if that's going to happen. So I have no idea what to expect out of them whatsoever. The Nuggets are going to be good again. I think the Warriors are, even though they're on the older side, are going to be good. Especially with all those contract situations that they had. But I think it's fool's gold with the Rockets, to be quite honest. And I think Kevin Durant is the biggest troll on social media also, because people are calling him out and saying, like, why did you take 2 years, $90 million? Why didn't you take 2 years, $40 million if you were trying to help the team, like from a cap perspective in the NBA? And he just started like attacking people left and right on social media. And you know this as well as I do. When athletes start trolling on social media, it doesn't end well for them at all.
No, it doesn't, unless you're this is an entirely different story, unless you're Isaiah Rodgers of the Vikings trying to defend yourself from idiots and DMs. It usually doesn't go well for athletes, which I don't even know if you know what I'm talking about.
I do. No, I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's going to be a good NBA season. The NBA is back on NBC for the first time in 30 years, by the way, which is going to be cool.
Yeah, and it's funny, and I wasn't alive to experience any of that, so I'm excited to see the modernized version of it. It should be cool.
So I was like 1 or 2 years old the last time it was on NBC. It was like 95 the last time it was on NBC. I was born in 93. I was 2 years old. So I didn't even know it. it was like the end of the Jordan era when he was the number 45 Michael Jordan, not the number 23 Michael Jordan. So I think it's going to be great. They're actually going to be doing a Michael Jordan contributor spot on the NBA on NBC. I don't know how many weeks or how many times, but if you tune in, obviously this again comes out after it, but there is going to be a Michael Jordan interview done by Mike Tirico on the pre-show, so that might be of note to watch. But so NBA and NBC, Amazon Prime starts with the NBA this year. They did a really good job. They got Ian Eagle and Kevin Harlan as their top play-by-play guys. On the NBC side, they got Tirico and Noah Eagle and a few others. And then they have Maria Taylor for NBC for studio with Carmelo Anthony and Tracy McGrady. I'm forgetting the other name, slipping my mind at the moment. But and then Amazon has Blake Griffin and Candace Parker and Steve Nash and Dirk Nowitzki. Like these networks spent a lot of money on their shows to really get them right. And I think it's going to be a really good year for the NBA. The only thing that's going to be annoying is you need Peacock to watch some of the games this year because some of the games are only going to be exclusively to Peacock.
Well, luckily for us, we have access to it, but not everybody else does. So that'll be a bit inconvenient.
I mean, the one thing I will stress, if you want to come watch NBA games, including Peacock, do it with us because we have that access to watch those games.
Not only do we have it, it's free, guys.
Yeah, really.
There's nothing else you need to do. You basically have a built-in NBA League Pass subscription if you sign up for Playback. I'm just saying.
Yeah, so like do it because it's going to be a lot harder to watch some games this year because there's a lot of exclusive Peacock games. Not everything is on NBC, and we're going to have Amazon too. We have that access also to watch these games. So come watch on Amazon and Peacock and NBC because we're going to have access to all those games on Playback. I swear. We're going to be doing a lot of NBA games this year. It's going to be a good season. You're going to see some new teams up at the top fighting for a title this year. And it's going to be a really good season. But I digress. Quickly on this last topic, and then we got to get out of here.
This is probably one of the longer episodes in the very long history of this. I haven't been on the whole history of it, but is this up there as one of the longer episodes?
Oh, no, we've done longer.
Okay.
We've gone over 2 hours before.
Geez, okay.
Not that I liked it, but it's just the way the news fell. But unfortunately, R.I.P. Doug Martin. He was a Bucks running back, right?
Sure. Bucks running back that had 2 really productive years in the mid 2010s. Used to be a fantasy darling for a lot of people. Very, very sad news. Obviously, died way too young. I mean, just prayers to his family and those who knew him. I'm sure they're going to do a view to him at the next Bucks home game in a couple weeks, and that's going to be really emotional too. It's one of the last true good running backs to wear the number 22 as well. So, kind of a disappointing, and sour end to what was a very fulfilling life for him. He did a lot of very, very good things.
He was great for the Bucks before the Bucks really had a promising team.
Oh yeah.
Too.
This is when the Bucks couldn't figure out their quarterback situation for years, a long time, and he was one of the only mainstays that there was at the time, and just his overall death, the way he passed, was just heartbreaking stuff.
By the way, he's 36 years old. He's only 4 years older than me. Like
that means he's only 14 years older than me, which is kind of crazy.
It's like a scary thought. Like because people think that athletes are indestructible and nothing can happen to them. It's not true. Like anything can happen at any given moment. Unfortunately, that's why you got to be very careful with health wise and how you handle situations in your life. Because you never know, unfortunately, when it could be taken from you. But it's kind of sad news.
Very sad news. But this was a packed episode. This will go down in the ET Sports history books as one of the ones where we really dug deep into the weeds on a lot of things. So thanks for bearing with us. If you had an hour and a half to kill, hopefully you used it wisely by watching or listening to this. So we thank you guys for that. Hopefully we didn't overwhelm you or bore you too much, regardless of how you view it. But Nick, any final or parting words before we do the honors of how we usually do before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, great episode, a lot of NFL, but that's par for the course for this time of the year. NFL, college football, the NBA will come back into circle in this show too.
You're gonna get a really annoying version of me, Nick, over the next few weeks if Illinois keeps winning. Because, in case you didn't know, because of course I have to throw this in there. If Illinois wins out, according to the ESPN Football Power Index, they have over a 60% chance to make the college football playoff. You want me at my insufferable best? That's what the next couple of weeks may end up being. So just fair warning that if Illinois somehow beats Washington, I will be insufferable for a couple weeks. So
yeah, no, it's going to be a great next couple of weeks. College football, NFL, NBA back in full force. MLB will put a bow on in the next week or two with the World Series, and we'll make our way into the next rotational part of the sports calendar. But that'll do it. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. We're over 1,035 subscribers. Help us grow. We're very close to about 1,700 watch hours on YouTube. We need to get to 4,000. That's the goal we got to hit. So if you could just help by watching an episode or two, that helps those watch hours go up.
Watch an episode of this show, watch an episode of Bando's breakdowns, watch an episode of whatever you want. Because the more you watch, regardless of shows, I know we're on this one, but the more you watch, regardless of shows, it only helps the watch hours. So just keep watching it, keep scrubbing through, keep tuning in, and the rest will take care of itself.
Yeah. So subscribe on YouTube. Like I said, youtube.com/ETB Network. If you can't watch, listen wherever you get your podcasts, all audio platforms by now, you know the deal with that. And Empty the Bench presented by Playback. Plenty of content coming out through there, including you doing Zain Zinger Part 2, which is one of our shows over on that side, which is simulcast to our YouTube channel from Playback as well. Everything you see on Playback is simulcast to YouTube. So you have both options to watch right there. So for Zam Bando, I'm Nick Morgasen. This has been episode 292. We are less than 10 episodes away from the milestone of 300 of ETB Sports, which we have some surprises in the work for episode 300. So keep tuning in for announcements at ETB Sports. When I have those confirmed, I will let you know at a later date. But for Zam Bando, I'm Nick Morgasen. Have a good day, everybody. We will see you next week.
Cheers. Have a good one.